Well, I'm from the Plumbers Licensing Board. My role within that agency is basically looking after the plumbing issue, any plumbing issues in the Aboriginal communities around the state, which involves visiting them and also involvement with the environmental health workers that live in the communities. What we're doing here today is basically just a bit of a hands-on approach for the guys to see how plumbing systems work and how it's designed, because all they see is a pipe coming out of the concrete generally and you know, no understanding of what's actually under the ground, which is the majority of the plumbing system. So it's just, you know, we're laying out a drain, for example, on this property, so the guys have got an understanding of how things connect up, how grades work, the fact that water or to run away needs to have grade in pipes so that, you know, we can dispose of the effluent, and you know, the different inspection openings and where they will be located. Righto guys, we all know what this is. Right, this is what I was talking about earlier. This is china it's made of. If you break it, it's real sharp. All right, so you've got to be real careful of that. If you see any cracks or that, don't let anybody use it. You know, and make sure you get the plumber come and change it. You can see here by the shape, and by the way, this has a seat on it. That's what these holes are for. And underneath there's a couple of bolts, a little like plastic bolts, because it's generally all plastic, right? That you just undo and the whole seat will come off. This here is like a P-trap. It's no different to what we're looking at under the sink, right? It goes through there, up there, right, and then out. And the water seal is from there, through there. It's always should have water in there, and the reason for that is it stops all the bacteria and the smell and stuff coming up through the drain and into the house. If for some reason a house is left empty for a while, that water will evaporate in there, like this one here, right, and then the house will stink because you get that bacteria, that smell and that coming into the house. It's dangerous, that stuff. So if you go into a house that smells like that, straight away go through and run the taps and that. And if you still smell it, you get the plumber to come in, and don't let people live in the house or that, because it's dangerous, very dangerous. These have holes, right? They've got to screw these pans down, right? They put concrete under them, you know, cement, mix up and push on, and they've got to screw them to the floor. You know, that is Michael was talking about the Australian standard. That's something that's required, right? That's something that we look for. Now, you find it can either be one of these flexible ones, or it'll be a bit of copper that's bent into shape. And generally, well, they screw onto a little tap, right? It doesn't look like a normal tap, but it is, right? It's got a little round handle on it. It's what we call a mini stop. Now that's the one, if the system's playing up, you turn that one off, not the whole house. You turn that one off there. Now when you're going to dismantle one of these, be careful with this one here. If it's copper or this one, right, that's metal. This one here is plastic. And it's very easy to cross thread. So when you're putting it on, just make sure this one's going on like square onto that fitting, you know, and do it up. Because if you cross thread it, then no good. You just leak all the time. Okay? That there is called the flush pipe, right? And where the flush pipe connects onto the pan, you can see on this one, there's a rubber washer there, and that one pushes inside the pan. To replace that, undo that nut, right? It's on a thread, right? There's a washer there, okay? All you need to do is, on this type of pan, is pull that out of there, right? And it comes out. Now that one there, it's an internal fitting pan cone, right? So to put one of them on, what I do is I put a bit of spit on it, right? Just a little bit of lubrication. Just push it on a little bit. It's got a lip inside, so you can't push it too far on, right? Make sure that wash is okay, because rubber, it can perish, right? So All these sort of things you can have spares of, and they're not dear, you know. So that one there, we just push him back up into there, turn the pan. Right, I'd put some spit on this one, or a bit of soapy water, right? And that's as simple as that. You only need to replace that one if you see water on the floor and you know it's not coming out of anything else, right? That's the only time you need to, because it'll be coming from that. The cones, it's no different to that one. That connection there is exactly the same. With these ones, they can be quite hard to get on, right? So all I do is put a bit of spit on it, right? Turn that over, like that. Now the toilet, see if I can get your toilet with a horn on it. The toilet, the one that has the horn, this goes, you just push that into it, right? And then just pull that over the top. Like that. So the actual horn of the toilet sits inside there, okay? And that won't leak, right? If we're going to pull one of these to bits because it needs servicing, or, you know, if you come into the toilet and you see a stream of water coming down there all the time, or if you can't see it, if you look in the water in the bottom of the toilet, you'll see it rippling, right? That means that there's water running into it. The only way, two ways it can be water running into it, is either from the bottom of this one, right? There's a washer on the bottom of this thing here, which you'll pull out in a minute, or this one here is letting the water come in and it's not turning off properly. Yeah, and a lot of the times with this one you can hear a whistle, like a, and it's the water running through. It's more likely to be on one like that, but you can still hear it a bit on this type of an inlet valve. But this centre part, it's all plastic. It just locks into little lugs, right? And all you've got to do is grab hold of it and just pull it up, and it slides out, right? And the whole thing comes out. It's as simple as that. That washer there is the one that can be causing water to run in there. It can be because it's rubber. They've got to be replaced. They perish, and, you know, might even have slime on it. You know, because water, if you leave something in water for too long, you know, it gets slimy, sort of. It might be just a matter of rubbing your hand or a rag over it to clean the slime off. I mean, you always get frogs in cisterns, and most of you would have seen frogs in your communities and that. This washer here you can buy, you can replace real easy. All you've got to do is pull it up and off like that. And see, it's got the little hole there? It locks in there, locks around that pipe in the middle. And you could get kits for these, right, for the cisterns. So in your community, just as part of all the gear you're hopefully going to put together, make sure you've got washers for your cisterns. You need to have a look at the cistern to see who made it, and then get the washers, because some cisterns have different parts. You know, different manufacturers might have same one but a different size. Right? So that one there, all we need to do is put it back on like that, centralise it up like that, and that one just goes straight back in. So this is a dual flush system. On your older houses, you'll find that most of them are just got one button to push, right? And it'll probably let through about 9 litres of water. That's a lot of water, especially if you've only had a pee. It's a lot of water to use, and it's a waste of water. So now the law is that they've got to be dual flush. So one flush is probably about 3 litres. That's only for when you have a pee, right? And the other one is about 6 litres, maybe a little bit more, right? That's when you're doing more heavy business. There's something that I'll try and explain to you, that on some places you might go in and there's no water in the toilet, or it's down. What it's caused that is paper on a half flush, paper sits over that part of the toilet, right? It just sits inside, it sits over there, And when you get back to your community, get a cup and get a bit of toilet paper or a tissue, right? Put water in your cup and just hang the tissue over it like that and just leave it there. You'll find what it does, the tissue soaks the water up and draws it up over the top, right? It's called capillary attraction, and it draws all, and it'll empty the cup. Well, that's the same as what can happen in here. That paper sits over there and hangs into the water, and it'll just draw the water out of the toilet, you know. So when that happens, it might be worth just telling everybody, you know, we'll use a full flush, right? Because it only normally happens on half flush, like the 3 litres. 3 litres isn't a lot of water. On the water supply, that's what this valve is here. It's like, you mob's seen, you know, your big tank and you have a valve inside, and when it fills up, the arm lifts up and it stops working, turns it off. Well, that's no different to what this thing is. Try and use the right tool for what you're doing. So that's got a nut, like it's got a square edge on it. Actually, this one you could use both. If it's just a square edge, like I think that one is, use a spanner, right? If it's round or that, then you can use that. Because if you use the wrong tool on what you're trying to do, you just wear the edges off and then you can't, you know, the thing's broken. To change this one, that's it. That's what lets your water in, right? And as the water fills up inside, it gets this thing and pushes it up till it gets to a point where it won't go any further, and it turns the water off inside here. That's as simple as what it is. I won't pull it to bits because these aren't real, you know, like these are throwaway, right? And you get a job where you go, you know, and you know it's that's causing the water to run in, pull it out and throw it away, right? Because there's all sorts of things on the market like that. It's no different to that. It's just a different make. Now this thing here is a filter. So if you've got a lot of rubbish in your water, if you put that inside there, it helps to keep the heavy stuff out, right? So if you've got you know, sand or that coming through the water all the time, put that in. I'm not sure how it'll go because you probably got a lot of calcium in your water, and that thing will block up pretty quick. But that's because it's only a toilet. It's not like you're drinking it. So it probably, with calcium, I probably wouldn't put that in. Mike, what do you reckon? Yeah, leave it out because it'll block up quick. You can make adjustments here because you need to have the right level of water in there. And they should have marks on the side of the cistern. Yeah, they do. I'll show you that in a minute. So you can set this up by turning that, right? Adjust the level to make this go down further or up further, right? So you get the right level of water. And all you do is you pick that fella up, put him back in there, put that one on and do him up. Now, don't do him too tight because it's only plastic. Right, break real easy. So, you know, generally just hand tight will do. And when you get the water going again, if it leaks, then just use a bit of a spanner and just give it a bit of a tweak. Put this one back on and be careful you don't cross thread it. You know, and on the end here, it screws onto the tap. You know, screw that fella back on. If you're doing one where it's got the copper pipe there, undo the copper and throw it away, right? Keep some of them there because they're easier, because the copper can be real hard to try and put back in there, right? So flexible leads they're called, and they come in all different lengths. You know, so if your tap was down the bottom here, you can get one of them that's long enough. I think they come to about 18 inches or more, don't they, Mike? So they get pretty big, you know, so, but it's a lot easier to put it all back together again with one of them flexible things. This is the inlet valve, right, for this system. Now what happens, there's this thing, that sits on there, and when there's water comes up to here, that's got air in it, right? And as the water rises, it actually lifts this up till it gets to a point where that arm there pushes down on the little inlet valve and stops the water coming in. Okay? And inside, it's not a lot different. It's got that washer down the bottom. It's a little tiny bit different to get out, but it's easy. You mob can have a bit of a practice with it. But one thing I just want to show you about this inlet valve. And again, guys, this thing's got a filter, different looking filter, right? So when you go to put one in, whip that out and throw it away, unless you've got sand and that coming in a lot, because the calcium will just block it up pretty quick. Now to change the washer in here, before you change it, this thing's got a screw on the top. Quite often it might be just a matter of doing that screw in, and it'll make that a bit tighter and it'll turn it off. But if the washer's got to be changed, this thing undoes here, right, comes off. There's the little washer inside there, right, that's what seals it. There's like a little bit of pipe there and this thing pushes against it, right? So this thing will be like lift up to let the water in. As this arm lifts, it pushes it down, pushes it hard onto that thing there, and it shuts the water off. Okay? Now there's just a little trick that I sort of found. If you want to change these, quite often it's the top of that thing there. I just get a drill and just in my fingers and just run it around the top, and it cleans up an edge because it might wear away a little bit, make it a bit jagged, and it just cleans it up. But when the toilet's blocked, sometimes you get this fella and you just get it pumping, get that, and it'll pump the water, push it backwards, and it'll get it going. These guys are a definite, one of these, but you can get, these come in a pack where you get quite a few of these rods, and they come with different heads on them, so you can cut into roots and things like that. An actual drain cleaning machine is better, but they're expensive. So if you're just doing basic stuff, one of these is a definite. This thing here, you probably use this even on the toilet, right? You can't use that one on the toilet, but if you get one of these and put, because it's blocked, and just pump it, right? They can unblock toilets, they can unblock sink. Just put that over the outlet of the sink, the basin, the bath, the shower. One of these you can put down the peat, like through the sink, through the grate, and it'll go around the P-trap and get down. If it's fat in your pipes, it's probably not much good. You know, you really need to probably, there's an agent you can get that will actually break down the fat. I forget what it's called, but these, caustic soda, righto. Showers, one of the main blocks there is hair, right? You get big lumps of hair in the bottom. That's why I don't have any, because no one can blame me for blocking up the shower. Basins, it can be hair, toothpaste, build up in the hair, just stuff like that. So this is where one of these can be handy, because it's got a little hook on the end and it'll actually grab hold of the mat of hair and it'll pull it out. As I say, I mean, it's really hard if you're not a plumber to understand how any system, plumbing system works, and it just gives them an opportunity to have a better understanding of it.